Hello, mighty companions. This is Earl Purdy, and I want to welcome you to Facebook Live, a course in miracles. And we're going to continue with what is the right mind's curriculum. When your mind is right, when your mind is coming from the truth, what would be the way that a sane person would handle things? What would be the way that love would handle things? And if you got to judge, what would be the judgment that you could use that would never hurt you? So if you just know you got to judge, and a part of you, that's the first thing you do is judge. Well, what are the judgments I can use that are going to benefit me? And how do I use judgment to my benefit? So we're going to be talking about that. We're going to be continuing with how can you see fear, anger, grievances, and upset? How can you judge it in such a way that it will bring you love, peace, joy, abundance, and health? So how can you do that? Since we tend to have more emphasis that's based on sometimes the more negative, fearful side of things than on the side of things that's all about joy and peace and happiness. So I would be glad if Spirit would show me how to use my ego to my advantage. How to use my anger, guilt, grievances, and upset to my advantage. Since it seems like I can hang out in fear easier than I can hang out in love and peace, wouldn't it be wonderful if all of my fear could be translated into something that brings me benefit, or my anger? Or we'd be so happy right now we wouldn't be able to stand it. Think about that for a minute. So we're still talking about that in the Course in Miracles. And so we're going to start out with our centering song, which is one of the Course in Miracles workbook lessons that I covered in my Thursday night class not a couple of weeks ago, which is, I am not a victim. The Course in Miracles says, why don't you read me slower? If you read me slower, you'll hear what I'm saying better, right? I am not a victim of the world. And I like to say, I see. Right? You could go, I am not a victim of the world I see. Or you could go, I am not a victim of the world I see. Sometimes it's just the way you say something. Have you noticed that many times the way a person says something to you can make all the difference in the way you respond to them? Oh, yeah. It's all in the way they say it, right? And so that's what the Course in Miracles is. Sometimes you can put emphasis on certain words and it change the whole meaning of the sentence and give you a completely different, like for instance, there is nothing to fear. There is nothing to fear. That's lesson 48 in the workbook. Or you could say, there's nothing to fear. There's nothing to fear. There is nothing to fear. There's nothing to fear. Nothing to it. See, just the inflection. So we're going to start out with, I'm not a victim. And if you'd like to let yourself join in so that you can hear the truth, then let's do it. I'm not a victim of the world I see. I'm not a victim, no. Say what? Of the world I see. I see. I'm not a victim of my fall. I'm not a victim of my fall. Not a victim of events, circumstance at all. I'm not a victim. Say what? Of the world I see. I'm not a victim of the world I see. Cause what's happening now is what I done to me. I'm not a victim of the future, not a victim of the past, not a victim of anything that really doesn't last. I'm not a victim. I hit the button. Okay, the Spirit wants us to do it again. All right? Here we go. You ready? Let's do it, Earl. Victim of the world I see. I'm not a victim, got it? Of the world I see. I'm not a victim of the world I see. I'm not a victim, no, of the world I see. Yeah, say what? I'm not a victim of the mall. I'm not a victim of my fall. A victim of events, circumstance at all. I'm not a victim. of the world I see. 'Cause what's happening now is what I've done to me. Oh yeah. Not a victim of the future, not a victim of the past, not a victim of anything that really doesn't last. I'm not a victim of the world I see. 'Cause what's happening now is what I've done to me. And that includes what? That includes the good stuff. I'm not a victim of the world I see. I'm not a victim of the world I see. I'm not a victim, no, of the world I see. It can look like it be, but I'm not a victim, 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 you are not a victim, you are not a victim, you're not a victim, I'm 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 not a victim, you're not a victim, I am not a victim, you are not a victim. Can it look like it though? Mm-hmm. Can it look like it? Like you're a victim? Yes. Okay, thank you. Thank you. I'm so thankful for every time we get a chance to do the Course in Miracles, because every single time I do the Course in Miracles and focus on what it's saying and remember what it's saying, life is more peaceful for me no matter what's going on. Even if it doesn't get spectacularly better when I'm dealing with something. There's never been a time I have studied the Course in Miracles and not felt better no matter what issues that I thought I was dealing with. Because it takes a while on the spiritual path for a person to understand that the way that they're feeling doesn't have one single thing to do with the situation or circumstance they think they're dealing with. Whatever makes a person happy or unhappy has nothing to do at all with what is happening on the outer. The way that you are feeling right now is coming from the meaning that you're giving to the situation that you're unhappy about. Do you know that? Everybody, pretty much people always go, and then 10 minutes later they're mad about something else. That's what's so funny to me about people who practice the truth, including myself. We can say things, we can answer the truth sometimes so fast and to make your head swim and not be doing none of it in terms of the practical application of it in our day-to-day life. But being able to understand what it's saying is the first step. That's a very important step, is the fact that you can say it even if you can't do it. Because at least you're looking at the recipe book, even if you haven't gotten the ingredients and started to put together for the cake. So that's why my classes, my goal is hopefully to motivate a person, something that they hear through the course that would make them get serious about their own happiness, rather than waiting for somebody else to make them happy. Right? I mean, that's why I'm working out. Try to make my bait better. Takes a bit more extra work than it used to on my bait. Than it used to. I got to come up with a different strategy. I think that's not going to work. Right? So I ask Spirit to send to me people who have the same purpose I do, the same desire for peace. Is that somebody, hopefully, people in my life that are interested in the Course in Miracles, and that path really works for them so that we can speak the same language and reinforce each other's beliefs and new ideas in God and be able to use this stuff so we can have a really powerful, wonderful relationship, because I know if I'm in a relationship or a friendship with somebody that shares my purpose, we know why we're together. So it's easier for us to evaluate how good we're doing if we say we're in a relationship with each other, to have love and peace with each other, and I have a dagger up against their throat. It might mean we're off purpose. Right? So we go, wait a minute, we said we were going to love each other, give each other peace. Right now we're at each other's throat. That's opposite to what our goal is. So we must be doing something that's wrong. So how do we get past this, dear? Well, what you got to do, and I've got to do, is we got to overlook anything that keeps us from achieving our goals. So we said we want peace together. So I'm going to have to overlook your ego. You got to overlook my ego more. We're going to have to not attack each other, judge each other, condemn each other as much as we can, because that is what interferes with our goal. If we say we want peace with each other, we can't be attacking each other all the time. So I overlook what keeps me from achieving my goal. Then I concentrate on what helps me reach my goal. So let's focus on forgiveness, how we can see this another way, how we can look at each other with more peace. Right now we're too triggered. Let's give each other some space so that we can heal. I'll go and go deep into my study and meditation, because I know I am in my ego. I'm not seeing things correctly because I'm angry and I'm mad. And so we don't need to talk right now, because neither one of us are in the right frame of mind to have a helpful conversation. How do we know? How can we do that together? Because both of us want peace together, and both of us decided that we want to do it in the way that is the way our spiritual path is teaching me. Like right now, I couldn't conceive of being in an intimate, romantic relationship with a person who did not share my purpose, and at this point in my life, who really was open and receptive to A Course in Miracles. It would be stupid if I am a full-time teacher of A Course in Miracles, and this is what I do. And it's important to me. It's not a hobby. It's not something I do just on Sunday for an hour so I can say I went to church how we used to do back in the day, right? This is my life. This is my way out of hell, because I'm awake enough to know this is hell. Any place that you can lose your loved ones, your house, get burned alive, all the crazy stuff we see happening every day. For anybody to not recognize that this is not the world of love, this is the world of fear. And there's a way to move into the world of love without dying, which is the other bill of goods we were sold, is that all the good stuff is going to happen after you die. I used to say everybody wants to go to heaven, but nobody wants to die. Right? We cling on to physical life with everything we got. Right? So the Course in Miracles saved me. It gave me the easiest path to God and to truth that I could have ever imagined, because the Course in Miracles never asked me to do anything that I couldn't do at the time it's asking me to do it. It never gives me a plan that has to do with changing anybody else around me, or getting them to agree with me, or getting them to do it the way that I think they should do it. That's the slow path. All of you ought to be aware that you can't change other people. But I hear often and used to say myself, how can I get somebody, how can I get my mama to change? How can I get my daddy to change? How can I get my friends to change? How can I get my children to change? So the Course says we always seek for our happiness in a way that does not work, and then we wonder why we feel miserable. He says, well, if you were doing it right, you wouldn't. That's the first thing to say to yourself. If you're the one that's miserable and you're the one that's upset and you're the one that's dissatisfied. But the Course in Miracles says, well, the first thing that you should tell yourself is you hope you were wrong about the way you're seeing the whole situation, because the way you're seeing it is upsetting you. So the last thing you want to be is right about anything or anybody that makes you unhappy in your perception. That's not the way the average person do it. They want to come to something so I can tell them how they can change their mother, change their child. Many people want to hear how I can give them a plan that's going to show them how to change everybody but themselves. That is absolutely the hardest path you could ever be on, is one where you are hoping you can get somebody else to be different from the way they are, because you got more control over you than anybody else on the face of the earth. Don't you see that? You have more, there's nobody else that you have as much control over as you. Now, I'm not saying you've been doing a good job with it, but I am saying at least that's where you do have the power. You follow what I'm saying? So I'm a control freak. I used to be just a freak. Okay, now, when you become spiritual, you just put control in front of it. Because before I was a lack of control freak, right? And thank God the Course taught me I wouldn't stand for being guilty. I'd be in trouble. because I've always explored my life, experimented in my life, tried new things, test theories. I'm an experiencer of life. I'm an adventurer, but mostly in a mental, spiritual realm. You will not catch me in the forest at night. Okay. So the Course in Miracles says, I'm going to give this to you, and I'm going to give it to you in a real easy way. That's what the Course says. But then the Course says, but y'all got to slow down. Like Spirit says, it's not about how fast you can read. It's about, do you hear what it's saying? Because the Course in Miracles is more powerful when you do it slow. Then in the workbook of the Course in Miracles, he says, these are the guidelines that I want you to use if you want to make your journey to through the Course easier. I'll say that again. He says, you need to remember this if you're really going to get to the point you can hear what this says, because many students of A Course in Miracles never read it or study it. Did you know that? There's a lot of people that are interested in the Course. They come hear me speak of the Course, which is great, and I'm glad. But the miracles that the Course in Miracles is talking about, they don't really happen until you give it attention and study at some level. And listening to teachers and listening to workshops and listening to tapes and all those things will not take you over to what the Course in Miracles is saying. Those things support that goal. I'm here to support the goal. You'll never come to my classes enough to change your mind if you don't ever use anything that comes through what I'm saying. So many people go to a class, don't use what it said, and then they say, well, that didn't work. And so they go to another class of something else that they're studying. Then they go, oh, I've been in this class 3 weeks and it didn't work. So why am I saying this? Because I'm much more interested in you being motivated to keep from crucifying and hurting yourself than any of the words that we might analyze today. If you walk out of this door and you go, I've reached my limit in some area of my life. I am really ready for a change. I've had it. If you walk out of here and then you go, well, I'm going to try to do some of this, then I've done my job as far as I'm concerned. So we're going to be at paragraph 9 on page 217 in the Course in Miracles text, the Foundation for Inner Peace. And I'm going to share with all of you online. I want to thank you again. Those online also, and thank you so much for you all coming in person, because you could have just as easily stayed at home and watched it. You didn't have to come out. So I have an extra level of gratitude for those of you who are able to, for those of you who will come here in person when you don't have to necessarily do that in order to hear what I'm saying. That's why I invite you all, when we do this and we are in each other's physical presence, let's take advantage of that. You know what I'm saying? The Course in Miracles taught me that what people in the world call joining isn't really joining. It says, people think they're joining because they're in the same physical space. So we'll go, well, we are joining. No, the Course in Miracles says that many people coming together for their individual purposes without communicating with each other because they did it under the same roof is not joining. I'm joining more if I'm sitting up here, and it's okay if you don't, but these are just opportunities, right? So you're giving me a chance to extend. You're giving me a chance to extend. You're giving me a chance to reach out. Now that would be doing something different. Everybody coming in and walking out and never knowing each other's name, even though they come every week, it's not joining. You're in the place, like I've said before, that you can be your naturally weird self in peace. That's what my classes are for. My classes are not for people who want to think in a traditional way. The Course in Miracles is not, no metaphysical spiritual teaching of any type is a teaching that's going to perpetuate the traditions of the world and the way that the world looks at things. So the Course says, take me slow. But he said, but take this attitude. And I put it this way, you don't have to believe anything Earl is saying from the Course. Remember that. You don't have to accept anything that Earl is saying from the Course. Remember that. You don't even have to welcome the thing that's coming out of his mouth from the Course. Why do I say from the Course? Because I want people to know Earl didn't write it. So Earl doesn't feel the need to defend it. I didn't write it. So you're not listening to Earl's wisdom. What you're listening to is me trying to be a messenger as best I possibly can.
Thank you.
You're right. I love you too much to give you my wisdom. And please love me too much to give me yours. He says some of the ideas you're going to actively resist. So just the Course in Miracles says, I'm going to say some things that you might resist. And then he goes, you will find some of the ideas from the Course in Miracles, what? Hard to believe. And then something I say may startle you. The Course in Miracles says, I know it's hard, but I'm not asking you to judge. And then he talks about how analyzing the Course destroys the meaning of it. So I'm very cautious about taking part in Course in Miracles groups where people sit around in a circle and everybody gives their interpretation of what it means and they analyze and what they think it means. Some people call those Course in Miracles study groups. I don't see them as study groups. You know, I see them as another way to defend against hearing the truth groups. Okay. And they're innocent and I'm innocent. So don't take what I'm saying as a criticism. I'm just saying I'm learning what love looks like and what it doesn't look like. I'm learning what keeps me in pain and what allows me to have peace. I'm willing to admit I have an ego. I'm willing to admit that everything you hear me teaching is what I'm learning. Okay, I'm just like you. I'm just a lot better than I used to be 43 years ago. Right. I was cuter then, though. and that made up for my ignorance. That's what made up. Thank you, Doc. Thank you for your correct perception of me. You see, I know when somebody's telling the truth. See, after studying the Course, you know when somebody's telling you the truth. And you know when they lie, you say I'm not cute. Well, you're the ego. Get beat back behind me. You're not looking at my spirit. My spirit hasn't aged a day. Right. It's just my body that does. And the Course in Miracles says your body will even stop changing if you use your body for the correct purpose. And I went, ooh, that's deep. So when you remember you're a spirit having a human experience and you're here to learn how to love and get rid of all the blocks you have to love, your body won't change when you are really fulfilling your function. And then my ego says, well, I am fulfilling my function. I study all the time and I try to be more loving. Oh, is your body still changing? Yes, you still got a little work to do, bro. The Course makes it too easy to tell when you're not practicing what you say you're practicing. See what I'm saying? You know, you can't say you're looking at it as if you don't know how you're going to pay your bills tomorrow, but you really are following the laws of abundance. You know what I mean? You know, I can't say I've mastered the correct perception of the body and I know I have health issues that I'm dealing with. I can't pretend that I've mastered what the Course is saying and I'm ready to rattle off what it's saying just like that, but I haven't had a relationship that I had peace in years. It would be better for me to say, I don't like the way I feel about all of those things, and so I hope I'm wrong about it. And I want another way to look at it. Spirit, give me another way to look at it so I can get out of this situation. And I'm willing to admit I don't know. I know I don't know because I'm too freaking unhappy and afraid a lot of times. Right? So that's what I meant when I said if I'm going to be in a relationship, I'm going to be in a relationship with somebody that speeds me up. I'm not going to get in a relationship with somebody that slows me down. And anybody I'm having to constantly convince to go on the trip with me, they're slowing me down. But if I'm on the trip, going on the trip with somebody who wants to go with me, we can make it an easier trip. You drive sometime, I drive sometime. We laughing and talking. We headed in the same. A relationship can be the best thing that's happened to you in your whole life if you and that person share the same purpose. But if you still think you're going to keep hooking up with people who have totally opposite values than you, and you think you're going to get along with them, really, I would venture to say you're deceiving yourself. Because if you can love somebody, if you think you're having challenges with the person that seems so different from you, right? You think you're having challenges with them, but then you say, I can have peace with them, then you're saying you're on a level of consciousness that you can overlook their differences and let them have their differences in a peaceful way. But then why are you trying to change them? Right? The Course in Miracles teaches there can be no peace among the different. As long as I think I'm different from you, we're going to think we have different interests and going to be in competition, and we're going to be a little suspicious of each other. So it would be better for me to say, each and every one of you are just like me. You're beings who create through your own thoughts. And everything that's happening to you, you're the one that's seeing it the way that you're seeing it. And if you want to have a different outcome, you got to do the same thing I'm doing. You got to look at it a different. You know what I'm saying? It's like I see all of you as being just like me in the sense there's nobody higher, nobody lower. I might be more familiar with the Course in Miracles than you are. That's a good thing because it can save you time. Right? So let's just take it like he's saying, and I'm going to keep going back and forth. He says, it's the use that will give the ideas meaning to you and show you that they're true. How many times do you think I've said this in 40 years? Thousands. Literally. Thousands. But guess what? I believe it more than I used to, because that makes this course easy. Let me give you an example. Last week, I'm going to go further. I'm going to go further than we did last week. We're in paragraph 9 on page 217. Questions hook the mind. Questions hook the mind. So I teach in questions. For instance, fear is a symptom of your own deep sense of loss. Do you know that fear is a symptom of your own deep sense of loss? Mm-hmm. So what? If you're feeling afraid, does that mean you're believing that you're about to lose? Yeah. What area of your life do you feel fear in right now? That's the area of your life that you think you're about to lose. Do you feel fear in your financial area? Do you feel fear in your career area? Do you feel fear in your relationship area? Do you feel fear in your health area? Well, then what you're really feeling is a deep sense that you're about to lose something. That's what it is. And everybody got that. Okay? It's going to become more meaningful if you think of an area of your life that you know you have some fear in. And do you want to, I'll teach you, I'll show you real easily how to tell. It's in the area of your life that you don't feel peace. Okay, so what's next? Well, he says, well, whenever you perceive fear in another person, I'm going to do this in plain language. Whenever you see fear in others, if you learn to correct the basic sense of loss, the basic cause of fear is removed. You are afraid. That's what you think that you're about to lose. So I want to help get rid of your fear. I'm in your life because I want to help you get rid of your fear. And also, I can teach myself that fear doesn't exist in me. I would love to know that there was no fear in me. How do I do that? How do I get rid of the idea that I have fear? Well, if I can help you get rid of your fear, then that teaches me that the means to help reduce fear is in me. And I've demonstrated that I believe I can help fear be released because I'm answering your call for love and seeing your call for love and your fear as you want to know you're not going to lose, that you're afraid right now. So all I have to do is comfort you when you're feeling afraid. And I'm helping to remove the fear that you have, because if you feel safe, you'll let go of the fear by yourself, right? If I'm on a trail hiking and a bear shows up, I feel the fear. You remove the bear, I let go of the fear. Mm-hmm. So you'll always let go of the fear once the sense of loss is gone. People always be trying, I got to get rid of no, you got to get rid of what's causing you to be afraid. Got it? Then it says, because with the Course in Miracles, again, what I've noticed and I've learned so much is either people are ready for the Course in Miracles or they're not. Mm-hmm. And I used to spend a lot of time trying to get people engaged. Nobody had to do that for me. I wanted it. I knew it was what I needed. I knew it was what I wanted. I'm glad people came on my path and teachers and stuff that helped me on that journey. Right? You see, you follow what I'm saying? But it's not my responsibility to get you to want to not go through hell. Right? What I want to do is deliver a message that I need to learn and you need to learn so we can learn it together, so we can both start to look at it in a way that they go about fear. One good thing about having children is they'll teach you how little control you have over anything. Right, you really realize at some point that they're going to have their lessons that they are creating for themselves. And all you can really do is try to demonstrate another way that they can look at it and learn from you by your demonstration. So a good parent is not do as I say, but don't do what I'm doing. It's more like, I'm going to show you what compassion and love and open-mindedness and taking responsibility and giving you the spirit and not wanting to hold grievances. I'm going to show you what that looks like. And I'm going to use you, my child, as an opportunity for me to do that. And I'm going to ask Spirit every step of the way how I should deal with your little butt. Right? You know, when you are in a marriage and the marriage ends and you have children and then you can't be with your children every day on the physical level, you know that you can't protect them in every situation, even though you can't do it even if they're living with you. But when I got a divorce, then I wasn't able to be with my children, and I was in the Course in Miracles, and I would go, okay, what are you going to do in terms of your being able to be protected? Well, it dawned on me, well, I might not be with them everywhere they go, but God is. So if I could focus in on the spiritual side of things when it comes to them, and understand they also have their own destiny and their life purpose and life lessons, and that they chose me as their parent because of my nature and my qualities. So that what I owe to my children is to be authentically myself, so that I can teach them the lessons they wanted to learn from me. So I owe them to be myself, not to try to be like the world says I should be as a father, but as how Earl Purdy does the father role. I'm telling you, that's what parents take too much responsibility for how their children turn out. Your children come into this life with their own personal history of things that their souls have experienced to get to this point. I know that sounds crazy, but it sure the hell sounds more sane than telling me children come from a stork. It makes sense to me that you all could be souls who have spiritual lessons to learn, and you all's relationships give you those spiritual lessons and give me those spiritual lessons until we learn it. See, that doesn't sound crazy to me. But we have to forget it, or we won't take it really seriously. Right? So you've forgotten it. You've forgotten that there's nothing about you that you didn't choose. Not your sex, not your race, not your nothing about your life. Who were your parents, where you were born. I chose to be in a black body, which has been called a bunch of different things since I was born. Started out Negro, then I was colored, then I was black, then I was African American. I don't know what I'll be next. Okay. It's interesting watching all these labels and descriptions that we give each other, and then we think they are real, right? So the Course is telling me that you only are capable of two emotions. I know it looks like you think you go through a lot of different feelings, but you're never experiencing but two feelings. What are the two feelings? Fear or love. That's it. Right now in this room, you're either feeling fear or you're feeling love. In those relationships that you were thinking about before you came here, you either fear your mate or love your mate. You either fear your family or love your family. You either fear your job or love your God. Your job. You either fear the world or you love the world. There's no in between. Right now, you're either feeling peace or you're feeling conflict. So the Course in Miracles says to us, one emotion is false. Which emotion do you think is false?
Fear.
Right. Is fear false evidence appearing real? Mm-hmm. False evidence appearing real. False evidence appearing real. F-E-A-R, right? So I'm a teacher, not a preacher. I'm a teacher, not a preacher. I'm a teacher, not a preacher. So I really want to appeal to those of you all who want to learn and who don't want to be lectured to and preached to, right? Who got that book and you want to take advantage of somebody that's had 40 years of obsession with it, and you really want to get it. You really want to learn. That's who I'm here the most, and I'm also here for anybody else that needs it. But the Course says you have to ask for what you want. I'm asking for students who want to learn the Course the way it comes through me, but they want to do some reading and studying on their own, and they want support in doing that. You know, I'm glad I'm entertaining, but I'm not here to be an entertainer. I'm a teacher. It used to be people came to my class because they wanted to be entertained more than they wanted to be taught. And so I realized that when people do that, they tend not to ever start studying the material. Yeah. Right? Because they wanted to laugh, and laughter is great. But you can laugh all day and still walk out the room just as dumb as you walked in terms of what would make your life different. But you laugh more now as they tow your car away. Okay. So one is false. What's false? Fear, right? And then the Course says one is false. Why? Because fear was made out of denial. Okay? You're afraid because you're denying God. You're afraid because you're denying God. You're afraid because you're denying love. You're afraid because you're in denial about love. You're afraid because you believe you could lose. You're afraid because you are denying reality. What is reality? What is reality? Make it simple. It's love or fear. Love. Thank you. So love is reality. So the Course says if you're experiencing fear, you're in a reality that's not real, and that you only have two emotions. One is fear, that's false, because it's the only reason why you're going to have fear is because you're denying love. But here's the trick. He says denial depends on the belief in what is denied for its own existence. What the hell does that mean? It means that for me to deny love, then love would have to exist, or I couldn't deny it. So everything you're in denial about depends on the fact that you believe in it. So your denial of God means you believe in God. Your denial of love means you believe in love. Your denial of wealth means there's a part of you that believes in wealth, and you wouldn't be in denial. If you feel like you're not having the kind of loving relationships and partnerships that you really believe you deserve, then you're in denial about the fact that there are relationships you can have that you really deserve. So your denying God is actually based on your belief in it, or you wouldn't deny it. That's what the Course says. I'm going to say this sentence at least 3 or 4 times. It's coming up next, because it is one of the most important sentences in this whole section about how do you make decisions that's only going to bring you joy. I'm going to take it slow, and you'll see what the Course means about reading slow. Okay, he says, by interpreting fear correctly. By interpreting, do you have any kind of fear? He says, well, if you would interpret your fear correctly, okay, what would be the correct interpretation of fear? See fear as a positive affirmation. What? See fear as a positive affirmation. Of what? The underlying belief in love that fear masks. So if you feel fear right now and you go, well, fear is an affirmation of my belief that there must be love, that love exists, that love exists. If I have lack right now, then it's really a positive affirmation that I really have an underlying belief in wealth and abundance. But I'm beginning to realize now that when I feel fear, then it's a positive affirmation of the fact that I have an underlying belief in love. So in order for me to feel fear, I have to know that love exists, but I'm just not feeling it right now. So when you are in conflict, it's really a positive affirmation that peace exists, but you are not getting it in your perception right now. Like he says right here, denial depends on the belief in what's denied for its existence. So by interpreting fear correctly, how is interpreting fear correctly? It's a positive affirmation of the underlying belief it masks. He says you are undermining its perceived usefulness by rendering it useless. That's a fancy way, or very simple way of saying that if every time I'm afraid, it reminds me that I'm denying love, and the purpose of fear is to make me forget love, then that's not really working. If every time I think about love, and every time I think about fear, I tell myself, well, that's just me becoming aware of the love that I'm not receiving right now, then the Course in Miracles says that renders fear useless. There's no point in having fear if you finally recognize what it is that fear is trying to hide from you. Because the purpose of fear is to keep you from recognizing the love that's available to you. The purpose of your perception of lack in your life is to keep you from being aware that you have an underlying belief in wealth and abundance that you're hiding from yourself. If you feel sickness and you say, this is a positive affirmation of my underlying belief in health, then you're rendering sickness useless. If the purpose of sickness is to make you think you're a body, if the purpose of sickness is to make you think you're separate, I don't know about you, but when I have a stomach ache, it doesn't seem like anybody else is experiencing it but me. So when I go through something physical, then it gives me a feeling of isolation. It makes me feel separate. I got a headache, you don't have one, I feel separate from you. So the purpose of sickness is to isolate you, to make you think you're by yourself, to make you think you're the only one, because it certainly seems like it. It certainly seems like when I have physical ailments and physical issues, it doesn't seem like anybody else is reacting to the way that I'm feeling. It makes me feel more isolated than anything, because it seems like I'm different from everybody else, and they having a better time than I'm having, or I'm dealing with some situation that they're not dealing with. So the purpose of sickness or lack or loneliness or all these things is to convince you that the truth isn't true for you. You can't have love. You can't have wealth. You can't have health. You're this body that's suffering. So you could possibly be this spiritual being that I'm being told is so unlimited and so eternal and so powerful. I'm constipated. You are constipated gods. From time to time. Don't forget, I'm sincere, but I'm not trying to be serious. Because we can get ready to get real serious. Right? Because I think being quiet makes me get what I don't understand more. Right? So the Course gets me out of denial. So the biggest breakthrough for me with the Course in Miracles was when I realized I did not believe in God. The Course taught me I didn't believe in God. The Course taught me I didn't know what love is. The Course taught me I didn't know what oneness is. The Course taught me I didn't know what happiness is. The Course taught me I didn't know crap about having a real relationship that was peaceful. It taught me I didn't know what peace is. It answered all those questions I had about why I wasn't experiencing all of those things. And the Course in Miracles made me stop lying to myself. And when I stopped deceiving and lying to myself, it's when more peace and magic and miracles started to happen in my life. So I'm not going to lie to myself and tell you all that I know exactly how to love you, and I forgive all the time, and I got my act all together, and I know this more than anybody else, or that I never have fear. I always have faith, and I always jump to a positive thought as soon as something happens to me. I do not. I just get around to it as quick as I can. Because this book has taught me that part of my healing is to feel the way I feel, just the way I feel it, without trying to impress anybody around me about what I should be like, right? So now when I have that upset, I realize this is a positive affirmation of my belief in peace and love, and that if I'll keep telling myself that my fear and upset is hiding the fact that I know love is under there and peace is under there. He says, well, that will get rid of your fear. It will get rid of your fear because there's no purpose to your fear if you become aware of what your fear is trying to hide. So that's why he says positive is a positive affirmation. I'm afraid right now. I'm extremely angry right now. That lets me know that a part of me absolutely is trying to hide the extreme peace that's inside of me. And so when I look at the world, I just see a bunch of people that are trying to hide the peace inside of them because they don't think they deserve it. So they choose relationships. The Course in Miracles says the chief way we keep ourselves miserable is our special love relationships. That's the main way that we keep ourselves in guilt and fear. And that doesn't mean just with a lover. It's because your special relationship with money, special relationship with your body, your special relationship with your job. It's like he says that's what is causing the pain that we see in the world. And so what you want to do then is when you see specialness, you want to see it as trying to cover up the fact that we're all equally valuable and equally one. Okay, I go, okay. So how do you render your fear useless? I just shared with you how to do that from a course. I just told you. Every time you feel afraid, tell yourself that it's a positive affirmation of the belief that you're trying to deny. I feel fear right now. It means it's a lot of love in this world that I'm not giving to myself. I feel lack right now. I see lack. It means there's a lot of wealth and abundance that's available to me that I'm in denial about right now. I'm in a relationship that I'm bored in. That means there's a good time underneath all that boredom that I'm feeling right now. It's no way you'll be bored with somebody you're really learning together with. And because you're studying the truth, you're loving each other more. So you should be growing more affectionate, more appreciative, more glad to be with the person every day. That's how you know if you're going in the right or wrong direction. You still should be excited to be in each other's presence. And you don't use the excuse because we've been together for so long. And that doesn't mean that you should try to radically change anything. Just say, oh, my relationship is really hiding the excitement that's under there that I'm in denial about. So the Course in Miracles says, if fear is the belief in loss of oneness, so So if I have fear with my partner, and I like to use relationships because the Course says, and it's the main way we keep ourselves asleep. So when I'm afraid of my partner, what I'm really saying is I believe that I've lost my oneness with you. We are arguing right now. We're having a hard time. I believe I've lost my sense of oneness with you. I don't believe I'm one with you right now. I'm mad at you. I don't believe I'm one with you right now. And by realizing that fear is your belief in the loss of oneness, then you're getting rid of the value of fear, because fear was trying to make you feel you weren't connected with each other because you were so upset with each other. Now fear is reminding you that there's a oneness that you all are both in denial about, that y'all got a connection that now you're in denial about. 10 minutes ago, you weren't in denial about the connection because you might have been saying something very sweet to them and very loving to them, right? And now you're not. Now you're angry. So what does that mean? 1 minute I really knew my oneness with you, and I was really feeling connected with you, and we were smiling in each other's face, and we really liked each other. Now I'm in denial of the oneness that we have with each other, and I call that being angry and afraid of you. So now I'm denying that you and I are one. You and I are no longer one. What y'all think about that? That's deep. That's deep. I'm angry at you. I'm denying my oneness with you. I'm denying that you and I are connected. I am denying the joy and the peace that we were having with each other yesterday. See, my ego is trying to even keep me from saying this stuff. I'll be trying to open my mouth. It's a trip. There's a part of me that when I speak the truth, it doesn't want me to say it. The book tells me that. I want to tell you that the more you try to be loving, at first it's going to seem like the more insane everything gets, because you're going to try to convince yourself that this new beginning you want is not going to work. Are you clear about that, Earl? So the hardest part of anything is going to be the beginning. You claim you want to be more loving and forgiving. Well, it's going to be the hardest for you to do that. Do that at the very beginning, because at the very beginning you're going to try to convince yourself that grievance you have is real and you're not ready to let go of it yet. So in the beginning, it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard in the beginning. So don't wimp out at the very beginning of saying that you're going to change. I'm telling you already, you're going to introduce the more obstacles to yourself at the beginning, because you're trying to stop yourself before you even get started, because your old self that's used to its habits and stuff wants to keep on being in charge. Don't you think for a second your habits are just going to go, okay, you want to be one with God. I'm not going to do anything. The Spirit tells you at the very beginning, so look, it's going to be hard. Not hard because it's hard, but hard because you're going to be trying to defend against this new beginning that you say you want. You don't love yourself, and now you say you want to love yourself. Don't you think the part of you that doesn't love you, that's been in charge, is going to try to convince you that you don't deserve that love? And usually the first thing it's going to do is attract to you some kind of relationship that validates you don't deserve love, whether that's a friendship, whether that's a love relationship. You're going to try to convince yourself that things are not different from you. So you're going to head right toward the worst person you could ever enter a relationship with after beginning to study on the truth. You're going to be tempted to make the dumbest moves you've ever made to once you devote yourself to your spiritual path, because your ego, which is your old self, is going to do everything in its power to get you not to study, to get you not to focus on the truth, and not to practice it. So it's probably going to attract you to some people or one person that's going to be a total distraction to you, whether it's a friend or a lover. And they're going to probably be nothing like this. They're probably not going to have any interest in your path, because that gives you a lot of time to distract yourself with you all going back and forth trying to change each other. See? So the Course in Miracles taught me that, and this is what he says here. Defenses that do not work at all are automatically discarded. If your fear and anger no longer works because you're beginning to recognize it's your call for love, it's your call for peace, then the part of you that uses fear and anger is going to get rid of your fear and anger. If the purpose of fear and anger was to try to get you not to think of God and peace, and now you feel fear and anger, and you say, oh my God, that means that I do have love, or that I do believe in God, that my fear and anger is a call for love, it's a call for God. Well, now my fear and anger isn't serving the purpose it used to serve, which is to make me forget that I really am deserving love. So the Course in Miracles says, I want to say this to you again. once you're not fooled by your fear anymore and you understand your fear is a call for love, and it also is witnessing that there is a lot of love and peace and abundance for you that you're in denial about, well, then you really gotten rid of the purpose of your fear and anger and upset, and you'll find that your mind will just start dropping your fear and anger and upset, and you simply don't get as upset as you used to be about things. And all of a sudden you'll find you're reacting differently from how you used to react. Because now you know when somebody's angry and afraid, they think they're going to lose. So if you can show them they're not going to lose by being a peaceful, loving person in their presence, then you're showing them that their anger and fear doesn't work. It doesn't keep them from experiencing some level of love or peace because you're there being loving and peaceful with them. So one good man blows the theory that there are no good men, and one good woman blows, when I say good, I mean somebody's coming from a place of love and peace and responsibility. I don't care what bodies you are. Love doesn't have anything to do with the body. Love doesn't have anything to do with the body. Love doesn't have anything to do with the body. Love doesn't have anything to do with the body. Love doesn't have anything to do with the body. What you do with your body is not a symbol of love. Sex is not a symbol of love. Somebody only having sex with you is not a symbol of love. Having a bunch of folks is not a symbol of love. There's nothing about the body that's a symbol of love because the body is neutral and you're going to use your body for whatever purpose you want to use your body for. And so the Course is telling us that there aren't but two purposes you can use your body for. You're either using your body in a way that's going to give you peace, or you're using your body in a way that's going to give you guilt. That's the only way you're using your body right now, no matter how you're using your body. And I need to learn that. So that's why I'm teaching that. I need to learn that. That's why I'm teaching that. And I'm going to join with other people who want to learn it with me. I want excited people about the truth, just like I'm excited. That's what I'm asking for. And being excited doesn't mean that you're necessarily jumping up and down. Being excited means you're focused, and it means something to you, what you're hearing. And it's easy to tell who's focused and who's not. Me. It's all me. All of you, all of me. I'm looking at me everywhere I look in this room. But you're pretending you don't know that. And I know you're pretending you don't know that. So I act like I'm separate from you so you won't be afraid of me. When you begin to wake up, you realize that you have to start pretending that you feel more separate from yourself than you really do. Because people who believe they're separate from you, they become afraid when you become too one. When you approach them with too much enthusiasm and too much love. So I had to realize when I first started to wake up that I was scared the hell out of people with the love I wanted to share, the connection I wanted to share. So I had to learn how to listen more so that I could let people define their limitations with me. Right? If you tell me what your belief system is and what your values are and what you look for in a man or woman or friend, and I'm listening to you, then if I'm a conscious being, I'm going to act within those boundaries that you just told me that make you feel safe, because I know any person that I'm supposed to really have an intimate connection with, they're going to want it with me just as much as I want it from them, and neither one of us are going to have to manipulate each other in order to have that experience. So as soon as I'm with anybody that I have to convince of anything, I know they're not the one I'm supposed to be doing that with, whatever that is. If I have to convince you to go to a movie with me, you're not the person I need to go to a movie with. You're not going to be much fun. But my crazy self used to go, well, y'all get you to want to go to a movie with me, though. I'll get you to want to. You know what I'm saying? It's so stupid to me how I used to seek for things through whoever wouldn't give it to me. And that made sense to me. And then the people that would give it to me, I didn't even give them my attention. It's so stupid. So when you learn how to forgive, you'll be forgiving yourself, brothers and sisters. You think you're learning forgiveness so you can forgive your mama and your daddy and what they did to you? No, you're going to be, oh my God, I was so freaking crazy and unloving and selfish and didn't know the truth. Oh my God, I was surrounded by so much love and appreciation, but I didn't even love myself enough to even appreciate the people who were So you'll end up having to forgive yourself for what you didn't do, instead of all the things that other people did that you got to overlook. Wow. So the Course in Miracles gets you to the point that you love yourself enough and you know who you really are as spirit enough that you can look at the ugliness that you've done without condemning yourself for it and just go, you know what? That was my call for love. So that's what we're learning it. Oh, you know, what I did to that cat, that was a call for love. You know, that's what's going to happen is you're going to see your call for love when you were denying love to yourself. So that's what the Course in Miracles is saying to us. I love it. but what's the last line in this sentence? He says, if you raise what fear conceals, what is it that fear is concealing, y'all? What is fear concealing? Love, right? So he says, so what you need to do is bring that love up to clear-cut, unequivocal predominance. And what does that mean? I know that you're feeling afraid right now. You're feeling jealous. You're feeling anger. You're feeling upset. And I'm going to raise to predominance that what you're really calling for and asking for is peace. You're really calling for peace. You're really calling for safety. You're really calling for, I know it looks like I'm angry. I know it looks like you're upset, and all, but what we're really doing is calling for love. We're calling for love with each other. We're calling for joining with each other. And if we'll remember that we've denied fear's power to conceal the love, because that's the purpose of fear, is to conceal God, to conceal love, to conceal your wealth, to hide it. Like, so when I get sick, I go, okay, I'm hiding my health right now. I'm hiding my health in the form of, right now it looks like I have a back sprain. I am hiding my health. I am hiding my health from myself. Then I realized I'd never heard that, I saw that in any book that ever gave me that way of looking at things. And so the mind says, well, actually, since this is opposite to what the world would tell you to do, this might just work over time. Because it isn't something that I've heard the world tell me to do. That's what I love about the Course. The Course in Miracles is always saying stuff I've never heard other than in this book. It blows my mind because you think you've heard it all. And you read the Course and it'll say stuff and you'll go, what? You know, there's a part of you that wants to kill you. And it won't be satisfied until you die. I'm like, oh, that don't sound like a Valentine's Day card right there. And the Course, like, so you go, ooh, that don't sound positive. No, it might not sound positive, but it's the truth. What do you think your death comes from? Where do you think your pain is coming from? There's some part of you that thinks you deserve pain. And I'm gonna show you how to get rid of that self. Okay, how do I use it? How do I do that, Spirit? You say, well, let's take today's lesson. Go, oh, I'm gonna see my pain as a positive affirmation that there is joy that I'm denying right now. And so I call it pain. I go, what's happening with you, Earl? Instead of saying, I'm going through pain in my relationship, I would go, shoot, man, right now I'm denying a lot of joy in my relationship. I'm denying myself a lot of happiness in my relationship right now. I'm denying myself a lot. Oh, I looked at my bank account. Man, I'm denying myself so much abundance right now. That is witnessing to your belief that abundance exists. And what you focus in on is what you manifest. So now you're using your so-called negative thoughts in a way that don't hurt you. So you'll start dropping those negative thoughts because they are no longer hiding your good from you. So it's no reason to. And this will happen automatically, people. He says this will happen automatically. And then the mind goes, what are you asking me to do, Earl? I'm asking you to do something so simple you'll be tempted not to do it. Well, what is that? Every time I feel fear, tell myself it's trying to hide the love that's available to me right now. Every time I'm mad at somebody, say, oh my God, I'm trying to hide the peace that's available. Don't you dare say you can't do that. Don't you dare tell me you can't do that. And then you find yourself not doing it. And so then what does that get you in touch with? It's brilliant. It gets you in touch with there's a part of you that just don't want to change the situation you're in, that wants to be in the situation that you're in because you're not willing to do a very simple change of mind that would change your life. I didn't tell you to go out and go jog. I didn't tell you to climb a mountain. I didn't tell you to go to India. I didn't tell you to change the way. That's how the Course in Miracles gets us. It doesn't require anything that we couldn't decide to do at the very time it's telling us to do it. And then, of course, then you don't do it because your ego, which is the part of you that hates you, that's why I give you all the challenges that you think you're going through, right? You think that's coming from the part of you that loves you, Course in Miracles says. You think that's coming from God? Forget that's coming from you. And you are God. You are a created being. You've forgotten you're a created being. You forgot that you create through your thoughts. You have in that relationship because your thoughts brought it to you. You have in that situation because your thoughts brought it to you. And then you go, oh, I don't believe that. It was my childhood. Yeah, you can't change that. So you know that's a lie. Spirit is never going to give you an answer that you don't have any power to change. So you know the answers don't have anything to do with your childhood ultimately. But looking through your childhood can be helpful. If you're looking for it, do it for the things that benefited you through it. And not just the things to complain about and use as an excuse not to change now. Yeah, I had a hard childhood. Yeah, I had a father that had alcoholism problem. I was black in the 1950s. When I did have separate water fountains and get on the back of the bus and all that, I lived that reality. So I can either use that to see myself as a victim for the rest of my life, and sometimes you do feel that way, but that is covering the fact that you are powerful and you're responsible. So yes, you can have a feeling of victim, and that's your call for love. I'm not saying not be compassionate. I'm not saying not be compassionate. I'm saying if I really want to help you, I'm not going to join in your negative beliefs about yourself. I'm not going to join in your suffering. I'm going to remember that you're the unlimited, spiritual, powerful child of God that only deserves love, that our minds are joined with each other, but you have a different ego, and I have a different ego, and so your ego sometimes is going to be tripping, and my ego is going to be tripping, but I'm going to remember that spiritual being that you really are, even when you're talking crazy, acting crazy, I'm going to remember you not your crazy. And now say your crazy is hiding that sanity that's up under it right now. Because your crazy is your call for sanity and your call for love. And all I have to do is see it that way. That's what the Course in Miracles is saying. I'm not asking you all to do a whole lot of stuff. I'm just asking you to say that's what it is. Even if you don't believe it, even if you don't accept it, even if you don't recognize it, I still want, can you say I'm not a victim of the world I see? Whether you believe it or not, whether you accept it or not, whether you welcome it or not, whether you like it or not, the Course in Miracles says, just friggin' say it. Because when you say it, that's symbolic of your willingness to listen and to surrender to your higher power. That's your way of showing you're not just talking it, you're willing to do something to show you really mean it. So just say it. And my ego goes, I ain't say what? I don't even remember. How come I said something I forgot about? You know what I'm saying? The ego would try to block out my course lesson so good that I would forget a lesson that was simply, I rest in God. 3 words. And I go, what was my Course in Miracles workbook lesson today? I was reading the Course in Miracles with some friends just the other day, just yesterday, and we were howling, laughing because we would read a paragraph, and we couldn't remember who was the last one that read. We get to talking, like they read the paragraph, we start discussing it, and then when we get through discussing it, we go, was you the one that just got to read? No, I think it was you. And we say, we want to be great demonstrators of the remembering of God, and we can't even remember the last paragraph that we read. And so we would just fall out laughing. Because when you really recognize the truth, folks, you laugh. Because it's so crazy to think God isn't real and you don't have help. And that you have to go. And it doesn't mean your body or your physical material circumstances are going to necessarily change the way you think it does. Because that's presupposing you know what's best for you. The best thing in your soul growth that you could ever experience might be bankruptcy. That might be the one thing that gets you to get your act together about how you're going to handle money from here on out. The Course in Miracles says, you don't know what your best interest is, so therefore you don't really know what you should do. Stop thinking you know that person. How many times you thought that person was absolutely the best one for you? You couldn't wait to get hold to him. And then, a few months later, you got a restraining order out on him. And that was the same person. You was going, oh my God, you're the most awesome thing. And you too, darling. I've been waiting my whole life. You too. Now you're running down the street away from each other instead of toward each other. So the Course in Miracles says, I don't know how to break this to you because you think you're adults, but I don't know how to break this to you. You don't have the slightest idea what your own best interests are. So let me teach you what they are, and let me teach you how to experience them. That's what it's for. To give you the happiness that you always wanted the way you can really receive it. You hear what I just said? The purpose of the Course is to get rid of all the blocks that keep you from having the happiness you always wanted. You were just going about it the wrong way in your thinking. The Course in Miracles works at the level of what? Perception, the level of thinking, the level of the mind. That's where the Course in Miracles operates. Where? In your mind. Where's your relationship? In your mind. Where's your financial situation? In your mind. Where's your job? In your mind. Where are your co-workers? In your mind. Where am I? In your mind. He says there's nothing outside of us. That's the biggest error we make, is we think what we're looking at is outside our mind, but really it's inside our mind. He said you will never be able to control something that you don't think is inside of you. And he says that's why you need to realize the full extent of your hatred. If you ever are going to get rid of your hatred, the Course in Miracles says if you want to get rid of your hatred, well, if you're never going to get rid of your hatred until you realize that your hatred is in your mind. Because once you realize it's in your mind, you have control over it. I went, that makes so much sense. So I see you as being in my mind, but I don't try to consciously control you, because it taught me what I should want to do is give you to God. Give you to God and then ask God what I should say to you and what I should do with you. And know that if I want to do anything but be peaceful with you, I'm listening to the wrong voice. That's how I can tell when I'm not listening to God's voice. When I'm listening to the wrong voice, it's going to tell me get mad, attack, hold a grievance of some type. So whenever a voice talks to me now, I go, okay. And sometimes I give in to it because I do have a desire to attack. So therefore, my desire to go off on you is stronger than my desire to have peace on you. So I'm going to ignore the voice that's telling me I'm seeing everything wrong because I'm murderous in my rage, right? So I'm going to think I'm right because I feel so angry. Because when I feel angry, I have a tendency to feel even more self-righteous about what I'm going through. So your anger is a good way to fake you out, to think you're right when you're wrong as hell. You're never right when you're mad. You're never right when you're mad. And that's not preaching, that's sharing the ideas in the Course. So now when I get mad, I try to shut up. I try to be quiet. I try to get, as soon as I feel that twinge come up, like the Course was saying, you'll feel a stab of guilt. You'll feel this little twinge. Y'all know what I'm talking about. You go, you know you're getting worked up, right? And the Course in Miracles says when that starts to happen, don't leave your high place. Don't leave that level of consciousness that you were on before you start getting mad. When you're beginning to get angry and upset, don't leave that level of consciousness that you were in before you started to get mad. And if you do get mad, what do? You recognize that you were trying to hide the peace and the love that you could be having in that moment. And you recognize your anger is you calling for peace and calling for love. Because if you do that, you'll be remembering love all day, because you'll be going, that's a call for love. He'll call for love. She'll call for love. I'm feeling the call for love about you right now. I'm feeling the call for love about this. It's all day long. That's what you'll be saying to yourself. And what would happen if you thought about love all day long? I know you wisdom, incredibly smart spiritual beings. What would happen if you focused on love all day long? You have peace. Would you not have more love? Would you not see more love? Would you not draw more love to yourself? So you know you get mad. You know you don't see things as a call for love all day. You know you can be negative as you can possibly be sometimes, and sometimes you sometimes be positive. The Course in Miracles says you already know that. So you've got to use that to your advantage. You got to use your own ego to your advantage. You know you're blaming and getting upset, broken into by periods where you think you go to a movie and you had a good time. So he says, well, since you know you spend a lot of your day in some form of concern or worry, how can you use all of that to your advantage? He says, well, just see it as a call for the thing that it looks like is missing. That's how you change. See, that's easy. So then you walk out and you go, well, the Course in Miracles, Thoreau didn't say anything that I couldn't do. So let me see how many times a day I remember that this is a call for love, and how many times a day I remember that this is me denying the love that's really there when I'm afraid and angry. How many times will I remember what the dude said from the Course? Because it told me if I can remember what's being said, then that signifies my willingness to be healed, and you can start to experience miracles of healing in your experience. And don't tell yourself, do not tell yourself that you can't have a miracle of healing that transcends the laws of time and space and what man tells you can happen and cannot happen. That's the other thing the Course in Miracles says. The biggest limitation we put on ourselves is we think that we are limited by what we are limited by. So because a doctor or a lawyer, anybody else, or whatever tells you, well, this couldn't be cured, or this couldn't be handled, or you couldn't have this. He says that's you putting limits on God. That's you putting limits on the higher power. And so I want to let go of the limits that I put on God by doing what I'm told. So when I try to limit my belief in God and doubt that God is there for me, I tell myself, oh, that's me trying to hide that God is there for me. So I'm going to stop here because I've heard enough to make me happy that I don't think I deserve more. Okay. So I'm going to do the love offering right now. Thank you for the donation. If you feel led to share one with me, I really, really appreciate that. Those of you online, if you like to make a financial expression of appreciation, as I am a full-time teacher of the course, let me pass that down. Then all you need to do, well, first of all, I'm going to tell you that you can use Zelle, Venmo, the Cash App, PayPal, and you can go to my website. It's www.earlpurdy.com. I ask for prosperity. I ask for abundance in my life. I'm not any less deserving of it just because I teach a spiritual teaching. So I'm asking. The course says just ask. And then tell yourself, I am sustained by the love of God. I am sustained by the love of God. I'm sustained by the love of God. I'm sustained by the love of God. Do you know that I'm sustained by the love of God doesn't mean that you are sustained by loving God? So when you hear I am sustained by the love of God, the course is not saying you are sustained because you love God. When it says that I'm sustained by the love of God, it means I am sustained by God's love for me. I am sustained by the love of God. So it's my creator. The Course in Miracles says when you fulfill your function and you're truly fulfilling your function for what you're here for, you will not want for anything because you will be given what you need. I'll say that again. A person that's fulfilling their function, even if it looks like it's coming through other people, doesn't mean it might not look like it's coming through other people. My point is, if you are unhappy and you're suffering, you're not a bad person, you're not a sinful person, you're not a guilty person, you're just not doing what you came here to do. You're not fulfilling your function. Because when you're fulfilling your function, how will you know? The Course in Miracles taught me that how I would know. Do you know that if you're fulfilling your function, the way you will know is what you're doing will give you complete happiness. When you're doing what you really came here to do, you will not be struggling in your perception, and you'll enjoy it. It'll be something you look forward to. It'll be something that coming and sharing with you, I'm holding myself back. It's like ridiculous. Because this thrills me. Because I can tell that my body is being used for love. And that feels good. Now I have a lot of love and truth that's coming through me that I want to share. And I'm asking and sharing totally my appreciation, like I said at the beginning, for those of you who come. Thank you so much. But now I'm stepping it up even more. Like I said, I'm asking for my students. The people who get this through me and it works for them, just like for real. Because I want to teach the course, using the course, with people who want to do it. And I want to be helpful to everyone who don't feel that calling. So don't misperceive what I'm saying if you're not into the course. I'm not saying don't come to my class. What I'm saying is if you're into the course, I'm your man. If you like it the way I do it. If you don't you dare be so cruel as to come to my class. If somebody don't love you, don't you dare try to get them to be a part of your experience. Because they've already shown you that Spirit has not designated them as the one to speed you along. The Course says love is irresistible. God is irresistible. So you're looking for the people who find you irresistible. They are drawn to you. The way you are pleases them. The way you are is perfect for them. They won't be asking you to change. Wow. But if you're in a relationship that's like that, know that you don't have to try to get rid of that person. What you want to do is learn how to see it differently. And if you can get to the point that you have some inner peace, you will know very clearly what to do in that relationship with them. So you want to go to peace first, then deal with the situation. Don't deal with the situation from anger and upset and grievances and make decisions out of anger and upset and grievances. What am I telling you to do? When you feel angry and upset, get back to peace. And then ask yourself, the higher God, what is it that I should do? Because now that you have more peace, you can perceive the answer more clearly. You can hear the answer more. Don't make decisions when you're mad. Don't make decisions when you're mad. Shut up if you can. Be quiet. Shut up. Be quiet. When you're angry and mad and you're scared, know that you're trying to hide love and you're trying to hide the answer, and the answer is there and it's available to you. Be quiet, breathe, go to the course if you're a Course in Miracles student. If you're not a Course in Miracles student, go to wherever your spiritual path is. You need it the most when you're most upset. You need your path the most when you're most upset. You need the God, higher power the most when you're most upset. That's when you need to go to this the most. And if you can't read, you're too upset to read, you're certainly not too upset to push a button and listen to a video or watch a video or listen to a tape or just watch something on TV you like. Get your mind off the thing that's making you feel separate. And if in any way you can think of it, try not to have a conversation while you're both misperceiving each other and both calling for love at the same time. And I repeat this, and I'm going to keep repeating it because we forget it. And when you get caught up in your ego and you go unconscious, then you're going to forget all this that you heard, and you will be lashing out, and you will be trying to get that person to change, and you will be blaming them, but you're going to get to the point one day that just because you feel so crappy, you realize you must not be seeing something correctly, and you're calling for love. And then people will start responding to you with love when you're upset, instead of getting upset back. When you're really not practicing the truth, you get upset, people don't give you compassion, they get mad back. When you reprogram your mind where it sees your anger and upset as a call for love, and because you've been seeing other people's anger and upset as a call for love, then when you start to get upset, people will be compassionate to you, trip you out. They will want to help you when you're upset instead of getting back angry at you. Because you've been seeing their stuff as a call for love. This is mind training. And you train your mind through repetition. You train your mind through repetition. You train your mind through repetition. Through repetition. That's why I'm repeating this over and over again. Because the more I repeat it, the more I believe it. The more you repeat it, the more you believe it. The more you repeat it, the more you believe it. The more you repeat it, the more you believe it. Your understanding isn't what's necessary. It's doing what you're being told. Repeat it, repeat it, repeat it. Don't analyze it, repeat it. How can you repeat what you don't remember? How can you repeat what you don't remember? Now you see why the emphasis is on remembering. Awesome. So, it looks like we might get to paragraph 10 next time. that would be powerful. Okay, let's do 1 minute to bring our energies in. You all are such a blessing to me. Earl Purdy at earlpurdy.com. That's Earl Purdy at earlpurdy.com. And I'm available for one-on-one sessions called Clarity Sessions. One-on-one. Go to my website. It explains it in detail. And you can self-book a time with me. Fear is a call for love. 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 You just have two emotions. You just got two feelings. You have only two feelings. You have only two feelings. You have only two feelings. It looks like it's a lot of different feelings, but you have only one. 1 plus 1 is two feelings, two emotions. What are the two emotions that you have that you're going to have the rest of today and the rest of the week? You're going to either be experiencing fear or love. You either are experiencing fear or love. You either are experiencing anger is fear. Lack is fear. Sickness is fear. Guilt is fear. Poverty is fear. Loneliness is fear. Limitation is fear. Being a body is fear. So whatever area of your life right now that you're feeling anything other than lack, any area of your life that you're feeling anything other than love, that's an area in your life that you have fear. So what you want to do right now, you want to tell yourself, fear, this fear is my call for love. This fear is my call for love. This fear is my call for love. This worry is my call for love. This worry is my call for love. And those of you who don't mind saying the word God, you could go, this fear is a call for God. This fear is a call for God. This fear is a call for God. This upset 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 is a call for God. This lack that I'm experiencing right now, this lack that I'm experiencing right now is a call for love. It's a call for God. It's a call for love. It's a call for God. That's what it is. That's what it is. So when you see it, when you see that fear as you really trying to hide the love, when you see that lack as being you trying to hide your abundance, then that would be you seeing it correctly, and that's removing the block. And your fears will start to fade away, start to fade away, start to fade away. Mighty companions. Earl taught what Earl needed to hear today. And he's really glad that you all were willing to drive over here to watch him learn. That's really special that y'all would do that. Did anybody get anything out of what they heard today?
Oh, yeah. God bless you. Thank you, Earl. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. But I wasn't saying it to get acknowledgement. Even I love acknowledgement because I love to be appreciated. And I realize that I'm not going to be appreciated if I don't appreciate it. So I'm trying to give whatever I think is missing. I'm trying to give what I want to have. You'd be surprised at the people who want to be appreciated, who won't appreciate other people. People who want to be acknowledged, but they won't acknowledge anybody else. And they wonder why is it that they don't get it. It's so funny. It's because they tell themselves, I'll give it when you give it to me first. Then I'm going to give it to you. Because they don't realize the easiest way to have something is to be it yourself. The easiest way to have something is to be it yourself. Just be what you want to have. Be what you want to have. You want a kind, loving friendship, partner, sane. You try to get as sane as you can possibly get. Try to be as loving as you can possibly be. Be what you want to have. Be what you want to have. Mighty companion, I know I went over, but at some level, you asked for it. And I love you. And I appreciate you. Appreciate everybody in here. Love you. I need to hear it. 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 Thank you. Thank you.